My name is Michael Ugwu and I'm an under 40 CEO.
The African Renaissance. The concept that the African people and nation shall overcome the current challenges confronting the continent and achieve cultural, scientific, and economic renewal is here, with young men and women taking the lead. Some call them the new school heroes. We call them under 40 CEOs.
Michael Ugwu, who describes himself as a hybrid London Lagosian, attended the University College London, where he bagged his master's degree in economic development and subsequently the Lagos Business School and Harvard Business School. Starting his career as a business analyst at the Royal Bank of Scotland, Michael would later move to CBO Capital as an associate and eventually rise into the position of CEO of music streaming company iRocking. Michael is currently the Pioneer General Manager for Sony Music Entertainment West Africa, one of the largest record labels in the world. All right, welcome to Under 40 CEOs, Mike.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, Mike, I'm aware that you moved to Lagos from London, but that was to start working for iRocking at the time. But not much has been said about growing up in London. I mean, please do tell me.
Well, I was born and brought up in the UK. My dad was a politician in Nigeria in the 70s. About the 80s, they relocated to the UK. Well, my mum did with us as kids. I was born in Manchester in 1980. And grew up with my siblings in the UK, my two sisters and my one brother. Right. So schooled there throughout and only really ever came back to Nigeria on holiday, summer holiday, Christmas holiday. Not really in Lagos. We'd come back to Nigeria, go straight to Enugu State and, enjoy our Christmas in the village. And then, I think I started coming to Lagos when I was in my early 20s. Oh. Really, I started coming, and when I say started coming, I mean, I'd always pass through and had family around. We'd never stay, I'd never really enjoy it, get to know it. And it was one of these, holidays I came back, without my parents, and I really enjoyed it. And 2007, 8, I was in banking in the UK, and I saw a lot of guys coming back from the UK to Nigeria to get into the banking space. So prior to actually working and doing helping build Iroko and iRocking, I was a banker. I was a Royal Bank of Scotland in the UK, and I came back to Nigeria and worked with a company called Futureview Capital in Victoria Island. And it's been a crazy 7 years or so in Nigeria, but no regrets on moving to Nigeria. It's home, right? Yeah. And we have to build it. So I'm here, I'm building, trying to do my bit.
Amazing. Now, I'd say about age 16, 17, you were working for Tyrac, selling ties. Were you also find out? Oh, we do our research, man. Okay. So were you also studying at the time?
Yeah. I was in college at the time. I was sixth form or so. So I was working at Tyrac in Oxford Street. So it was my first job, and I was selling ties, and it taught me a lot about customer service. Working on Oxford Street, which is one of the busiest streets in London, in Europe, probably in the world. Massive shopping district. Serving all kinds of customers from all kinds of countries with all kinds of demands.
I must have bought a tie from you.
Possibly, and a pocket square.
Yeah, amazing. So you also hold a master's degree from the University College London.
Correct.
But what was your first degree and what university did you attend?
My first degree I did at Brunel University, and I did politics and history. Then I went to work. I worked for a couple of years in an IT consultancy. And then I went back to do my master's. I just felt, it was the right time. I didn't want to go straight from my undergraduate to my master's. I felt like I wanted to gain some work experience. So by the time I went back to do my master's at University College of London, I really knew what I was there to do. And I did it to the best of my ability, had a lot of fun, a lot of sleepless nights, but it was good times. And I've met some really amazing people there that I'm still friends with until today.
All right, so you left a well-paying job to move to Nigeria. Apart from coming to work for Iroko, what else made Nigeria that attractive?
Like I said, I think at the time it was just seeing some of the early success stories in the financial services industry. I saw a lot of young guys coming back, joining, Zenith Capital, UBA Capital, Vetiva, BGL, Greenwich, a lot of these companies, private equity companies, investment banks, retail banks, a lot of young guys are coming back and joining these companies, earning fantastic salaries, doing really well in the stock market at the time. So, that's what really got me interested. I was in the financial services space, and I felt that, if there's any industry I'm going to go into in Nigeria that's going to be able to create, to give me a great network on the ground that I didn't have, I felt it was going to be financial services, and I'm already in the space. And all these success stories, I can go back and potentially be one of them. But unfortunately, the market crashed. That was about 2008 or so, 9. It was a global recession. The global financial services industry crashed, and Nigeria was part of that. But we had our own in-country challenges, because I guess we in terms of the globalization of finance, we kind of like sit outside of the global system somehow. But still, there was still some impacts in Nigeria. A lot of portfolio funds left at that time. And there was a lot of speculation going on. A lot of bank MDs were doing a lot of interesting things in the stock market. And it was an experience and a half. But I spent 2-3 years in the Nigerian financial services space. I didn't become the success I wanted to be. I was actually told to go back to London by my mother and my siblings and my family a number of times. Like, look, dude, you've tried. This Nigeria, it's tougher than you think. Start coming back to London and start again. But I stuck it out.
Michael is also an investor and director of Nigeria's first and most popular online urban fashion website, giddymint.com. You invested in an e-commerce company, I believe was Giddymint.
Yeah, that was
at the time. Would you say it was your experience selling fashion in London that gave you the confidence to invest in Giddymint?
I don't know. I think that selling ties is a bit conservative, but Giddymint for me was kind of cool, right? I think that it was my work within the Nigerian music industry that kind of like informed my decision to invest in Giddymint. At the time, obviously, I was working, and still even to now, working with a lot of artists, and I felt that there was a massive issue within the merchandise space. You have all these artists creating all this fantastic music content, singles, albums, mixtapes, doing these shows, a lot of brand activation shows, and no one's really selling any t-shirts, no one's selling any merchandise. But you have these legions of fans that is a potential captive market. So I felt that making an investment in Giddymint was gonna aid my goal of trying to build that bridge, or trying to build up the Nigerian merchandise space for artists. And we were successful to a certain extent, working with the likes of NATO C, Bez, and a bunch of other artists to try and work with them to come up with t-shirt designs, what have you. We did a line for Bez, so it had a bunch of his lyrics on the t-shirts that we printed in-house in our office.
It's reported online that at some point, as CEO of iRocking, you leveraged the brand to launch FreeMe Digital. What's not out there right now?
I guess it's been a long time, man. But I think the key thing that people don't know is that at the time, a decision was taken to wind up iRocking, right? A decision by the company. The music business was obviously going through a tough time. Our focus and where our strengths were was Nollywood. And as you can see, till today, the brand is well focused within the Nollywood space. There's not much going on in the music space. So at the time, I'd actually tried to buy the brand iRocking. I'd set it up from scratch, took it to where it was, and when I felt that when the company took a decision to shutter the business, like any normal businessman, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a hustler. I'm like, okay, fine, what can I do with it? But I wasn't given that opportunity. So FreeMe Digital didn't start until after iRocking had actually ended.
FreeMe Digital is the premier third-party digital distribution company in Nigeria, with a growing array of artists, comedians, and content owners from across the region using the platform. When using the FreeMe Digital service, users get an easy-to-use, direct, affordable digital solution to get content distributed worldwide to international stores like iTunes, YouTube, Amazon MP3, Spotify, Vivo, Google Play, and more, as well as local stores like Simfy, Rara, and others for an annual flat fee. FreeMe Digital is considered one of the successful businesses Michael has ventured into. You know, you've been described as successful. What does success really mean to you?
I don't know. I don't see myself as successful. I see myself as still hustling. I definitely see the progression. You know, I won't argue with that. I see the progression from when I first came into the country, you know, the trials and tribulations and where I am now. But I think for me and for anyone who is, you know, progressing and still progressing, it's about belief, right? I think it's about believing in yourself. I think it's about believing in yourself when you're right, when you're wrong, you know, when you're up, when you're down. You know, as in like, it's about belief, it's about staying humble, about staying hopeful, and just about, you know, really trying to like focus on where you're going to be tomorrow. But I think key things is, you know, you're going to fail, you're going to be up, you're going to be down. I mean, like my tattoos say, as you can say, when you're down, stay hopeful. When you're up, stay humble, right? And I think that, you know, if you have those feelings within you and you live like that, and you obviously look to God, you know, for inspiration and for guidance, because he's, you know, he's the author and the finisher, right? So I think those things can equate to a level of success if you live by those rules.
You're beautiful. You're progressing also in believing in yourself to the point where Sony Music, you know, believed in you so much and appointed you GM for West Africa. What's your mandate in this role?
My mandate, it's an interesting one. So it's I mean, primarily it's to ensure that we create fantastic music, right? To ensure that our repertoire is well represented, and to ensure that we're building our repertoire. So that's our local and our international repertoire. So in our catalog, our repertoire catalog, we have over 5 million tracks. I mean, we have the catalog. So I represent the catalogs of, say, Michael Jackson, catalog of Beyonce, Chris Brown, Usher, Future, DJ Khaled, you know, some of the more contemporary ones, 21 Savage. So that would be under Epic Records, Columbia Records, Ultra Records, RCA Records, and all the Sony family. So I represent all those interests in West Africa. Now for me, my mandate has been primarily how do we find a market for these, and how do we create new markets? So finding an initial market is working with the digital services to create create the needed consumption, right? Because right now to date, we've got a lot of local content within Nigeria. We consume our content like there's no tomorrow, and that's fantastic, and we love that, right? And I love that as a Nigerian. A lot of economies, a lot of countries don't enjoy that. But with this, you know, we've always known that, you know, to be a proper music market, you need a mix. You need a mix of everything, True. Not just local, but international. And it's like anything. You go into a clothes shop, you need a mix of shoes, t-shirts, ties, everything, so you can get a full outfit, right? Not just a shop full of jeans, right? So with this, it's introducing international content via the telcos and encouraging services to actually pick up and go. So Apple Music has really became aggressive in Nigeria after we launched Sony Music here. A lot of other partners, from Spotify to Deezer to several other partners, are really looking at the market more critically now. And in the same vein, it's been about how do we actually take our talent, our grassroots talent, and our superstar, you know, Afrobeats, Pan-African talent, and take it to the world. So, you know, I'm proud to say that during the time that I've set up Sony Music, we've signed 2 of Nigeria's, you know, if not 2 of Africa's greatest current talents, which would be Wizkid and Davido. They're two of the young contemporary Afrobeats, Afropop superstars at the forefront of this wave that's, you know, really, you know, packing out dance halls in London, you know, clubs in New York, clubs in Paris.
Amazing. So you've got 2 of the biggest. Are you planning to sign any more?
Definitely. We have artists that we're talking to, artists that have been signed. We also signed an artist called YC. YC currently has a big song called Juice that's doing really well. You know, globally, we're working a lot, you know, to push that track around the world, you know, generating the needed excitement to take him to the next level. So yeah, we're talking to artists all the time, and it's not just about signing, you know, huge, major, big artists. We're also looking at, you know, how do we develop from the grassroots. It's definitely an expense. Yeah, it's massively important. Prior to setting up Sony Music, you know, a lot of people in Nigeria don't pay publishing royalties, because it's something we've just never really recognized as a country. But we can't actually license content to a partner without the partner recognizing and paying those royalties, those publishing royalties. The publishing royalties will go to the songwriters, the producers, the guys behind the scenes who aren't the performing artists, right? The guys behind Beyonce, the guys behind Chris Brown, you know, the brains that sit there and pen these lyrics and produce these hits. So a lot of that, has been educating a lot of partners on things that need to be done, and really trying to change how we do business in Nigeria on a wholesale level.
All right. I mean, this last segment, I could tell that you really are an orator. And I know that you've spoken at a number of events. But tell me, what's your favorite thing to talk about?
That's a very interesting question. I've never been asked that before. But I think that, my favorite thing to talk about is actually a challenge that we have that I always bring up in Nigeria, and something that I think we really need to look at is touring and venue infrastructure. I think that's something that really interests me on a personal level, as well as on a company level. And we have a lot of conversations going on internally about some of these things. But as we don't really have a touring and venue infrastructure in Nigeria. So even if we bring really big artists to the country, where do they perform? Another thing I love talking about would be the work done over the years by the independents. Sony Music would not be in Nigeria without the work of all the independent labels before us. From the Tribe Records to the Chocolate Cities to the EMEs to the Mo Hits. Without the work of these independent labels, these historic houses. Sorry, I forgot Storm Records, another huge foundation of the business. Shout out Obi Asaka and team. Without these guys, all these conversations, all these conferences, all these things that are going on in our music industry wouldn't be happening.
All right, beautiful. You mentioned challenges earlier. But what are those key challenges that you've had to overcome to make the strides that you've made so far?
I think it's really just, it goes back to believing in yourself. A lot of people like to say, ideas won't work. So I think, first challenge is obviously, convincing people that this is actually a viable industry. It's a professional industry. We just need to, package it, tidy it up. It's a professional industry. So that's definitely a challenge that, still goes on till today. A lot of people are looking at it in a better light, but it's still a challenge. We're hoping gets solved. Electricity is still a challenge. Education is obviously still a challenge. Health is still a challenge. And whether you like it or not, these things impact businesses. When staff call in sick, when there's no light to run your business, when the internet goes off or the internet's too expensive. These are all day-to-day challenges that need to be solved. We're working, really from way back, but it's the resilience of us as a people that I think just keeps us surmounting these challenges. And God, definitely.
God holding us.
God holding. The honest truth is, I've actually become way more Christian moving to Nigeria because in the UK, a lot of people in the UK are atheists, and I grew up in a Christian family, but I think in Nigeria, I'm like, no. God is real. There's some things I've seen that I'll say, man, okay, no, God is real.
All right. So tell me, how has travel and interacting with diverse cultures helped in shaping your person?
It's really helped. I definitely think that it's important for people to travel wide and travel far. It really inspires, and I travel a lot. I travel. I love to travel, work, and leisure, and I think just interacting with different cultures is massive. I was in Congo about a month ago. I was invited to Congo by a label called Leclick Music. When I'm talking about some of the challenges Nigeria has in the music space, people were shocked. How can you guys have these challenges? We have challenges in our industry. You guys are the biggest in the. How can you tell us this doesn't work? How can you tell? And I'm like, no, as in you see a lot of things that are going really well, and we do have a very interesting, very diverse, profitable industry to a large extent now that's still growing. But we still have our challenges, and it's just crazy for them to be exposed to. Okay, wow, so we're not that far behind. So I love traveling. I get to meet different people, experience different cultures. I'm a foodie, so I get to taste different things, and just have fun, and then come home and share my experiences.
All right, let's come back to work. So how would you describe your leadership style?
I definitely feel my door is always open. It's pretty flat. I don't believe in command and control leadership. I believe in getting the right people, the right team together, and allowing them to run with things. I also like to make sure that my team know, anyone that I'm working with over the years, they know that if it's about getting in the trenches, I get in the trenches. I never ask someone to do what I can't do. I don't believe in that style of leadership. Whether it's someone driving, whether it's sweeping somewhere, whether it's setting up cameras at an event, whether it's running after the printers to get something printed, doesn't matter. Whether it's chasing a brand, it doesn't matter what it is. I need to be able to show my team that I can do it. So when they do it, they know that I can do it, right? So I'm never asking for too much. I think that's hugely important. And just empowering my people is important.
Okay, talking about your people, talking about your team, how do you typically hire?
A lot of it is through networks, through personal networks. You know, I put the word out that I'm looking for so and so, and I've been able to build relationships in the industry where I've worked alongside people, and I always remember how I felt working with that person. And when the time comes, I'm looking for something specific, they may be the first person I reach out to, like, hey, look, I'm working on this. Do you want to work together on it? And if not, do you have someone who's like you? Because I believe birds of a feather flock together, right? So if there's someone who's like you, say it's a lawyer, or say it's an IT guy, you know, I'd say, okay, I'd like to work with you. Are you interested? Okay, if you're not, recommend someone for me. If it's a lawyer, are you interested? No, I've got things going on. Cool, recommend someone for me. So I'm really big on relationships. I like to maintain relationships, and I highlight that firstly.
All right, so tell me about your feelings as a leader.
My feelings as a leader, heavy is the head that wears the crown. There's a lot of stress. I mean, that's just the truth. It's interesting when it's interesting, but when it's hard, you know, it's hard and it's tough, and it can be lonely, definitely. You know, people don't always understand.
So what values are important to you and your firm?
Yeah, being innovative is very important. Sustainability is very important because you need to, you know, if you start something, finish it, stay in business. Transparency is hugely important in the business I'm in. And just understanding the challenges of your client, of your partner, and doing your best to add value and solve the problems and take them to the next level.
Okay, now tell me real quick, if you had to start your journey in business all over again, what mistakes would you avoid making again?
I mean, it would be hard. I don't know if I would, if I could take any back. I definitely think that. I mean, it's hard, right? Everything that I've made a mistake at has, you know, honed me to where I am now, and you know, to help me get to even the next level. Okay. But I definitely think that, you know, I'm a very trusting person. I think I probably could have been harder. I could have been harder. Sometimes I'm actually quite relaxed when it comes to running a business and working with people.
Beautiful. So tell me about this one big, massive letdown that you've experienced in business and your career so far.
The biggest letdown would be maybe iRocking. I think probably the biggest letdown, because you know, I really, you know, put my heart and soul into that business, and I mean, to the point that I was literally known as Mr. iRocking, right? As in, like, you know, all the artists that I work with, you know, building the business up from scratch, and you know, getting it to where it was, you know, talking about it everywhere I went, you know, sleepless nights in the office. You know, you don't do that unless you really mean something, right? And I think probably the fallout of that, you know, I mean, it's business, relationships go bad, it happens. There's always ways to deal with that, right? And you know, I think probably the fallout of that was probably one of the biggest letdowns.
Napoleon Hill said that strength and growth come only through continuous effort and struggle. And this is clearly Michael's story as it continues to grow in the midst of the many challenges he's had to overcome. However, we would like to find out how an executive in the entertainment industry relaxes, what he does with his spare time, and his lifestyle choices. I have a few quick fire questions for you. What would you love to eat?
Fish.
All right, how would you describe your style?
Funky, different.
What are your favorite brands to wear?
Shoes, what exactly? Shoes, I love my Balenciaga runners or my Nikes, my 95s or whatever. Sunshades, I'm a huge sunshades guy. Kazal all the way. Jeans, I mean, a mix of jeans, but I love my Balmain jeans, and you know, any jeans look cool. I just love to dress down. This is how I dress all the time.
All right, so what other CEOs do you currently look up to?
I'd definitely say Tony Elumelu is an interesting, very interesting guy. Dangote is also, I guess, like everybody, he's a very interesting guy. In terms of young CEOs, Sim Shagaya, you know, he did a lot at Conga, you know, another very interesting guy. When it comes to the record label business, Audu Maikori is someone that I really look up to. You know, big ups Audu, big ups Obi, Asika, big ups Shegun Demarin. Yeah, I think those would be some of the key guys, and that's locally. I think internationally, one of my definite, idols is Puff Daddy, Sean Puff Daddy Combs. I love what he's done throughout his career.
All right, so what's your favorite car to drive?
Mercedes-Benz, all day, baby.
Your favorite travel destination?
I'll probably be boring and say London, because I just love London. I'm a London boy, LDA.
What's your favorite book of all time?
Half of a Yellow Sun.
And what book are you reading right now?
Blockbusters by my former professor at Harvard, Anita L. Burse. She wrote a really good book about the blockbuster business strategy. So that's what I'm really reading now. I'm really into it.
Okay, lovely. So I'd like to know, lastly, Michael, what makes you happy?
Family. Family does. I probably don't spend as much time with my family as I should, but that's where I'm most at peace. Because if everything goes tomorrow, and you have to wake up thinking that you can lose everything today or tomorrow, right? And it's family that are always there. When my lowest moments, they've been there, so they make me the happiest. My daughter, number one, yeah, she does.
All right, thank you for coming on Under 40 CEOs, Michael.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
My name is Michael Ugwu, and you could be an Under 40 CEO too.